Marcus Kane lived a quiet life in the city of New Haven, a place where technology ruled everything. Cameras watched every street corner, drones flew overhead scanning faces, and police robots patrolled neighborhoods. It was a city that promised safety but often punished those who didn't fit its rules. For Marcus, staying out of trouble wasn't just a choice, it was survival. Every day, Marcus woke up at 5:30 a.m. sharp. He lived alone in a small apartment on the south side of town. His home was modest: a bed, a table, a chair, and a fridge filled with leftovers from his favorite diner. The walls were bare except for one picture taped above his desk, an old photograph of him and his late mother. She had always told him, "Stay strong, Marcus. Don't let anyone push you around." Those words stayed with him through every challenge. By 6 o'clock a.m., Marcus was already dressed and heading to work. He worked as a mechanic at a garage called Fix It Fast. The owner, Mr. Harris, was a kind man who didn't ask too many questions about Marcus' past. To everyone at the shop, Marcus was just another worker fixing cars and trucks all day long. But what no one knew, not even Mr. Harris, was that Marcus wasn't just a mechanic. Deep inside, he carried secrets that could change lives, or end them. At night, when the garage closed, Marcus would go home and sit quietly by the window. Sometimes he'd watch the news on his tiny TV. Other times, he'd stare outside, thinking about the world beyond New Haven. He had been born into this city, but he dreamed of leaving someday. Yet there was something holding him back, a mission he couldn't walk away from. What most people didn't know was that Marcus was more than just a mechanic. Beneath his calm exterior, he was actually a highly skilled CIA agent working undercover. His real job was to investigate corrupt systems, especially within law enforcement, and bring them down. He had spent years building a cover so solid that not even his closest friends suspected anything unusual about him. Marcus had special tools hidden inside his body. In his hand, there was a tiny microchip that could connect to any computer system. Behind his ear, a miniature microphone recorded conversations without anyone noticing. These gadgets helped him gather evidence against criminals and corrupt officials. But Marcus never used them unless absolutely necessary. He knew how dangerous it was to draw attention to himself. On this particular evening, Marcus finished work later than usual. It was almost midnight when he locked up the garage and started walking home. The streets were empty except for a few stray cats darting between parked cars. Overhead, a drone buzzed softly, scanning license plates and snapping photos of the area. Marcus kept his head down, avoiding eye contact with the cameras. As he turned onto his block, two police officers stepped out of their patrol car. Their uniforms were crisp, and their badges gleamed under the streetlights. One of them was tall with broad shoulders, while the other was shorter but equally intimidating. Both wore expressions that said they weren't here to chat. "Hey you," the taller cop shouted, pointing at Marcus. "Stop right there." Marcus froze. He raised his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked calmly. The shorter cop smirked. "Yeah, there's a problem. You matched the description of someone we're looking for. Where were you tonight?" Marcus frowned. "I was at work. I can prove it if you want to check." But the cops weren't interested in proof. They exchanged glances, silently agreeing on what to do next. Then the taller cop stepped closer, his voice cold and harsh. "We got reports of a robbery at a government building earlier tonight. Guess what? We found some stolen items in your car." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He hadn't left his car unlocked, and he certainly hadn't stolen anything. Something wasn't right. Before he could say another word, the cops grabbed him roughly and shoved him against the hood of their car. They searched his pockets and patted him down, treating him like a criminal. "You're coming with us," the shorter cop growled. "No, wait," Marcus protested. "This is a mistake. I didn't do anything wrong." "Save it for the judge," the taller cop sneered. "You'll have plenty of time to explain yourself in jail." Within minutes, Marcus was handcuffed and thrown into the back of the patrol car. As they drove away, he stared out the window of his mind racing. How had this happened? Who planted stolen goods in his car? And why were these cops targeting him specifically? Back at the station, things only got worse. The cops took turns interrogating Marcus, trying to make him confess to crimes he didn't commit. They slammed files onto the table and shouted accusations. When Marcus refused to break, they grew angrier. Finally, they showed him fake evidence, a video supposedly showing him near the scene of the robbery. Of course, it wasn't real. Someone had edited the footage to frame him. By the end of the night, Marcus was officially charged with theft and conspiracy. He was thrown into a cell with other inmates, each one glaring at him suspiciously. For the first time in years, Marcus felt truly trapped. But deep inside, he reminded himself of his mother's words, "Stay strong." Little did the cops know, they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Framing Marcus Kane might have seemed like an easy way to silence him, but they had no idea who they were dealing with, or what he was capable of. And so Marcus's quiet life came to an abrupt end. What started as an ordinary evening turned into a nightmare. But Marcus wasn't afraid. If anything, he was ready to fight back. After all, he had faced bigger challenges before. This was just the beginning. The jail was cold, dark, and smelled like damp concrete. Marcus sat on a thin mattress in his cell, staring at the metal bars that separated him from freedom. The other inmates shouted and banged on their walls, but Marcus stayed quiet. He didn't want to draw attention to himself. Not yet. For now, he needed to think. Marcus knew this wasn't just bad luck. Someone had planned this carefully. The stolen items planted in his car, the fake video footage, the angry cops. They were all part of a bigger scheme. But why? What did they want from him? And who was behind it? As the hours passed, Marcus began piecing things together. These weren't ordinary cops. They were dirty cops, officers who used their power for personal gain. Maybe they framed people like him to cover up their own crimes. Or maybe they worked for someone even worse. Whatever the reason, Marcus realized he was in serious danger. If he didn't act fast, he might never get out of here alive. But Marcus wasn't an ordinary man. Beneath his calm exterior, he carried secrets and tools that could turn the tables. Hidden inside his body were gadgets given to him by the CIA. A tiny microphone behind his ear recorded everything he heard. A microchip in his hand could connect to computers and databases. These tools were his lifeline, and now was the time to use them. Day one in jail, gathering information. On his first day, Marcus kept his head down and listened. Inmates loved to talk, especially when they thought no one was paying attention. As Marcus pretended to sleep, he overheard conversations between the men in nearby cells. "Did you hear about the new guy?" one inmate whispered. "They say he robbed a government building." Another voice laughed. "Yeah, right. Look at him. He doesn't look like a thief. They're framing him." A third voice chimed in. "Happens all the time. Cops plant evidence and throw people in here to shut them up." Marcus frowned. Framing innocent people seemed to be common practice in this city. But why target him specifically? Was it because of his undercover work for the CIA? Did someone find out about his mission? Later that evening, a guard came to deliver dinner. The food was bland, a scoop of rice, some beans, and a slice of bread. But Marcus ate it anyway. He needed to stay strong. After the guard left, Marcus activated the microphone behind his ear. It recorded every sound in the jail, from footsteps to whispers. He couldn't analyze the recordings yet, but someday they might help prove his innocence. Day 3 in jail, meeting a spy. By the third day, Marcus noticed something strange. One of the inmates, a tall man with tattoos covering his arms, kept staring at him. The man introduced himself as Trevor, but avoided answering questions about his past. Marcus sensed that Trevor wasn't just another prisoner. Something about him felt off. That night, Trevor approached Marcus's cell. "Hey, new guy," he said, keeping his voice low. "I hear you got framed. Want my advice? Keep your mouth shut unless you want trouble." Marcus nodded politely. "Thanks for the tip." Trevor smirked. "Don't thank me yet. Just remember, not everyone in here is who they seem." With that, Trevor walked away. Marcus watched him closely. Could Trevor be working for the cops? Was he sent to spy on Marcus? Marcus decided to play along and see what Trevor would do next. Over the next few days, Trevor tried to strike up more conversations. He asked Marcus about his arrest, his job, and his family. Marcus gave vague answers, careful not to reveal too much. At the same time, he used his hidden microphone to record everything Trevor said. If Trevor really was a spy, those recordings might come in handy later. Day 5 in jail, finding allies. While Trevor remained suspicious, Marcus found unexpected support from another inmate named Jamal. Jamal was younger than most of the men in the jail, barely in his 20s. He had been arrested for stealing food to feed his little sister. One afternoon, Jamal leaned against the wall near Marcus's cell. "You don't belong here," he said quietly. "I can tell." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What makes you say that?" Jamal shrugged. "You're different. You don't complain or fight like the others. Plus, I saw your arrest on the news. Looks fishy if you ask me." Marcus smiled faintly. "Thanks for noticing." Jamal hesitated before speaking again. If you ever need help, I owe you one. Marcus didn't understand what Jamal meant until later that week. During mealtime, a group of inmates started arguing loudly. The noise distracted the guards, giving Marcus and Jamal a chance to talk privately. That's when Jamal revealed his secret. He had access to a smuggled phone hidden in the laundry room. If Marcus needed to contact someone on the outside, Jamal could help. Marcus thanked Jamal but warned him to be careful. Using the phone was risky, and both of them could get into trouble if they were caught. Still, knowing he had a way to reach the outside world gave Marcus hope. Day 7 in jail, discovering the ledger. By the 7th day, Marcus had gathered enough information to start fighting back. His recordings revealed clues about the corrupt cops' operation. They mentioned names, locations, and illegal activities. But Marcus needed hard evidence, something undeniable, to clear his name. That's when he overheard a conversation between two inmates. One of them bragged about hacking into police files online. There's a ledger, the man said. It's got everything, their deals, their partners, their payoffs. But it's locked tight. No one can crack it. Marcus's heart raced. A digital ledger containing proof of the cops' crimes. That was exactly what he needed. But accessing it wouldn't be easy. The ledger was stored on a secure server, protected by advanced encryption. Even Marcus's microchip might not be enough to break through. Still, Marcus refused to give up. He spent hours thinking about how to get the ledger. He considered asking Jamal for help, but he didn't want to put the young man in danger. Instead, he decided to wait for the right moment and trust his instincts. A glimmer of hope. Just when Marcus thought things couldn't get worse, a glimmer of hope appeared. On the 9th day, a lawyer visited the jail. Her name was Elena Torres, and she specialized in cases involving police misconduct. She had heard about Marcus's arrest and wanted to help. Elena sat across from Marcus in the visiting room. "Mr. Kane," she began, "I believe you're innocent, but proving it won't be easy. Do you have any evidence that could help your case?" Marcus hesitated. He couldn't tell her about his CIA background. That would blow his cover, but he could hint at the truth. "I've been gathering information," he said carefully. "If I can get access to certain files, I think we can prove the cops framed me." Elena nodded. "Leave that to me. I'll do whatever it takes to bring them down." For the first time in days, Marcus felt a spark of optimism. With Elena's help, he might stand a chance. But he knew the road ahead would be tough. The corrupt cops wouldn't stop until they silenced him for good. And so Marcus prepared for the battle of his life. He wasn't just fighting for his freedom. He was fighting for justice. Little did the cops know, they had underestimated him. Framing Marcus Kane was the worst mistake they could have made. Marcus Kane sat in the visiting room of the jail, staring at Elena Torres. She was a lawyer, but she wasn't like the others Marcus had met before. Her eyes were sharp, her voice calm but firm. She seemed determined to help him, and that gave Marcus hope. Elena leaned forward slightly, resting her elbows on the table. "Mr. Kane," she said, "I know you're innocent, but proving it won't be easy. We need evidence, hard proof, that these cops framed you." Marcus nodded slowly. He couldn't reveal his true identity as a CIA agent, so he chose his words carefully. "There's a digital ledger," he explained. "It contains records of the cops' illegal activities. If we can get access to it, we can expose them." Elena frowned. "A digital ledger? Where is it?" "It's stored online," Marcus replied, "but it's heavily encrypted. Breaking into it will take skill." Elena thought for a moment. "Leave that part to me. I'll figure out how to get it. In the meantime, keep gathering whatever information you can inside here." With that, their meeting ended. As Elena left the visiting room, Marcus felt a flicker of optimism. For the first time since his arrest, he had an ally on the outside. Together, they might just stand a chance. Building trust with Jamal. Back in his cell, Marcus turned his attention to Jamal. The young inmate had already shown willingness to help, but Marcus needed to make sure he could trust him completely. That evening, Marcus called Jamal over to the edge of his cell. "Jamal," he whispered, "I need your help again. Can you use that phone in the laundry room to send a message?" Jamal hesitated. "What kind of message?" "I need someone on the outside to start looking into a secure file," Marcus explained. "Tell them to search for a digital ledger connected to the police department." Jamal's eyes widened. "That sounds risky. What if they trace it back to us?" "I'll take full responsibility if anything goes wrong," Marcus assured him. "You've done enough by helping me this far, but I need you to trust me." After a long pause, Jamal nodded. "Okay, I'll do it. The next day, Jamal sneaked into the laundry room during cleaning duty. Using the smuggled phone, he sent a coded message to Alina, explaining what Marcus needed. When Jamal returned to the cell block, he gave Marcus a thumbs up. "Message sent," he whispered. Marcus smiled faintly. With Alina working on the ledger and Jamal keeping communication open, he finally had a plan. But he knew the corrupt cops wouldn't sit idly by while he plotted against them. Trevor's true colors. Meanwhile, Trevor, the suspicious inmate who had been watching Marcus closely, grew bolder. One night, he approached Marcus's cell again. This time, he didn't bother hiding his intentions. "You've been busy," Trevor said, his voice low and threatening. "Talking to lawyers, sending messages. You think I don't notice?" Marcus kept his expression neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." Trevor smirked. "Don't play dumb with me. I know why you're here. And I know you're not just some mechanic." Marcus's heart raced, but he stayed calm. "If you have something to say, say it." Trevor leaned closer to the bars. "Let's just stay. I've been sent to keep an eye on you. Keep causing trouble, and bad things might happen, to you or to your friends." Marcus glanced toward Jamal, who was sitting nearby, pretending not to listen. He realized Trevor was trying to scare him into silence, but Marcus wasn't afraid. If anything, Trevor's threat confirmed one thing: the corrupt cops were getting nervous. "Tell your bosses I'm not backing down," Marcus said firmly. "They picked the wrong man to mess with." Trevor chuckled. Dart backed away. "We'll see about that." As Trevor walked off, Marcus felt a surge of determination. He couldn't let Trevor, or anyone else, intimidate him. His fight for justice was bigger than himself now. It was about exposing the truth and protecting innocent people like Jamal. Alina's breakthrough. On the outside, Alina worked tirelessly to uncover the digital ledger. She spent hours researching encryption methods and consulting tech experts. Finally, after days of effort, she made progress. One evening, Alina visited Marcus again. "I found it," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "The ledger is real. It's linked to a private server used by high-ranking police officials." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Can you access it?" "Not yet," Alina admitted, "but I'm close. Once I break through the encryption, we'll have everything we need to bring those cops down." Marcus nodded. "Good work. Just be careful. These people are dangerous." Alina smiled faintly. "So am I." The growing threat. Inside the jail, the tension grew thicker each day. Trevor continued to spy on Marcus, reporting back to the corrupt cops. Meanwhile, other inmates began noticing Marcus's unusual behavior. Some admired his quiet strength, while others suspected he was hiding something. One afternoon, a group of inmates cornered Marcus in the yard. Their leader, a burly man named Rico, stepped forward. "We hear you're planning something big," Rico growled. "What's your game, huh?" Marcus stood his ground. "I'm just trying to survive, same as you." Rico laughed harshly. "Survive? You're digging too deep, man. Word is, you're messing with powerful people. And if they come after you, they'll come after all of us." Before Marcus could respond, Jamal stepped between them. "Leave him alone," Jamal shouted. "He hasn't done anything to you." Rico glared at Jamal. "Stay out of this, kid, unless you want trouble." Marcus put a hand on Jamal's shoulder. "It's okay, Jamal. I can handle it." Reluctantly, Jamal backed away. Rico stared at Marcus for a moment longer, then turned and walked off with his gang. Marcus exhaled sharply, realizing how quickly things could spiral out of control. A new alley. Later that night, another inmate approached Marcus. His name was Carlos, a middle-aged man with a scar running down his cheek. Unlike the others, Carlos rarely spoke or caused trouble, but tonight he had something to say. "Listen," Carlos whispered, "I heard what happened with Rico. You've got guts, standing up to him like that." Marcus shrugged. "Thanks." Carlos hesitated, then added, "If you need backup, count me in. I've been stuck in this hellhole for years because of those dirty cops. If you're planning to take them down, I want to help." Marcus studied Carlos carefully. He didn't know whether to trust him, but he appreciated the gesture. "I'll remember that," Marcus said finally. "For now, stay safe." Carlos nodded and walked away. Marcus realized he wasn't alone in this fight. Even in a place like jail, there were people willing to stand up for what was right. Preparing for battle. As the days passed, Marcus continued gathering evidence and staying alert. With Alina working on the ledger, Jamal helping with communications, and Carlos offering support, Marcus felt a sense of unity growing around him. Each person played a role in the larger mission. But Marcus also knew the stakes were higher than ever. The corrupt cops were desperate to silence him, and they wouldn't hesitate to hurt anyone who got in their way. Every move Marcus made had to be calculated, every decision weighed carefully. Despite the danger, Marcus remained resolute. He thought about his mother's words, "Stay strong." Those words echoed in his mind, giving him the courage to face whatever came next. And so Marcus prepared for the final showdown. He wasn't just fighting for his freedom anymore. He was fighting for justice, for truth, and for everyone who had suffered under the corrupt system. Framing Marcus Kane had been their biggest mistake. Now it was time to show them why. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the benches, cameras flashing as they snapped photos of everyone who entered. Protesters gathered outside, holding signs that read "Justice for Marcus Kane" and "Stop Police Corruption." Inside, the air buzzed with tension. This wasn't just another trial. It was a battle for truth. Marcus sat at the defendant's table, dressed in a neat suit Alina had brought him from the jail. His hands were cuffed, but his expression remained calm. He glanced at Alina, who stood beside him, her face serious but confident. She gave him a small nod, silently telling him to stay strong. Across the room, the two corrupt cops, Officer Grayson and Officer Hayes, sat smugly next to their lawyer. They thought they had won. After all, they had planted evidence, faked video footage, and intimidated witnesses. What could Marcus possibly do to fight back? But Marcus knew something they didn't. Today was the day he would expose their crimes and prove his innocence once and for all. Opening statements. The judge banged his gavel, calling the courtroom to order. "The trial of Marcus Kane will now begin," he announced. "Prosecution, you may proceed." The prosecutor, a tall man with slicked back hair, stood up and walked to the center of the room. He smiled confidently as he addressed the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Marcus Kane is a dangerous criminal. He stole valuable items from a government building and tried to flee. Thanks to the hard work of Officers Grayson and Hayes, we were able to arrest him before he could cause more harm." Alina listened carefully, taking notes. When it was her turn, she rose to her feet. Her voice was steady but powerful as she spoke. "Your Honor, members of the jury, my client is innocent. The charges against him are based on lies and false evidence. Today, we will show you the truth about what really happened and who is truly responsible." The courtroom fell silent. Everyone leaned forward, eager to hear what would come next. The prosecution's case. The prosecutor called Officer Grayson to the stand first. Grayson swaggered to the witness chair, looking proud of himself. Under questioning, he described how Marcus had been caught red-handed with stolen goods in his car. "We followed proper procedure," Grayson said. "There's no doubt he's guilty." Next, the prosecution played the fake video footage showing Marcus near the scene of the robbery. The grainy images looked convincing, at least to those who didn't know better. Murmurs spread through the courtroom as people watched. When it was Elena's turn to cross-examine Grayson, she wasted no time. "Officer Grayson," she began, "you claim you followed proper procedure. Can you explain why there's no record of your patrol car being near Mr. Kane's vehicle when you supposedly stopped him?" Grayson hesitated. Technical issues, maybe. Our equipment malfunctions sometimes." "And what about the video footage?" Alina pressed. "How can you confirm its authenticity?" "It's standard surveillance," Grayson replied, growing defensive. "Why would we fake it?" Alina raised an eyebrow. "That's exactly what we intend to find out." Marcus's counterattack. After the prosecution rested its case, it was Elena's turn to present Marcus's defense. She started by calling Jamal to the stand. Jamal looked nervous as he took the oath, but Alina reassured him with a warm smile. "Jamal," she began gently, "can you tell the court where you met Mr. Kane?" Jamal nodded. "In jail. He helped me when no one else would, and I saw how unfairly he was treated." Alina continued, "Did you ever witness anything unusual during your time in jail?" Jamal swallowed hard. "Yeah, there was this guy, Trevor. He kept asking questions about Marcus. I think he was spying on him for someone." The prosecutor objected, claiming Jamal's testimony was irrelevant, but the judge allowed it, sensing it might lead somewhere important. Next, Alina introduced the recordings Marcus had secretly gathered using his hidden microphone. She played snippets of conversations between inmates discussing the corrupt cops' activities. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as people realized the depth of the conspiracy. Finally, Alina revealed her biggest piece of evidence: the digital ledger. "This document," she explained, "contains detailed records of illegal transactions conducted by Officers Grayson and Hayes. It proves they framed Marcus to cover up their own crimes. The prosecutor jumped to his feet. Objection. This so-called ledger is hearsay and cannot be verified. Elena smiled coolly. Actually, Your Honor, we have already traced its origin to a secure police server. Independent experts have confirmed its authenticity. The judge nodded. Proceed. The big reveal. As Elena displayed the ledger on a large screen, the courtroom erupted into chaos. Names, dates, and amounts scrolled across the monitor, linking the corrupt cops to illegal arms deals, robbery, and human trafficking. Everyone stared in disbelief. Even some of the jurors looked sickened. Then came the moment Marcus had been waiting for. Rising slowly from his seat, he stepped forward. For the first time, he spoke directly to the court. Your Honor, Marcus began, his voice steady, I am not just a mechanic. I am a CIA agent working undercover to investigate corruption within law enforcement. These officers targeted me because they feared I would expose them. But now, thanks to the efforts of my lawyer and allies both inside and outside this courtroom, their crimes are laid bare for all to see. The room went completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus's revelation sent shockwaves through the crowd. Even the judge seemed stunned. The courtroom was silent for what felt like an eternity. Marcus stood tall, his voice steady as he revealed his true identity as a CIA agent. The shock on everyone's faces was unmistakable. The judge, the jury, the reporters, even the corrupt cops themselves. No one had expected this twist. Finally, the judge cleared his throat and banged his gavel. Order in the court, he shouted, though it took several moments for the murmurs to die down. He turned to Marcus. Mr. Kane, is this claim true? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus replied calmly. I have been working undercover to expose corruption within law enforcement. These officers framed me because they feared I would uncover their crimes. But now the truth is out. The prosecutor looked pale, scrambling through papers as if searching for a way to salvage the case. Officer Grayson and Officer Hayes exchanged panicked glances, their smug expressions replaced by fear. They knew they were caught. After a brief recess, the judge returned with a verdict. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented today, I declare Marcus Kane innocent of all charges. Furthermore, Officers Grayson and Hayes are under arrest for conspiracy, corruption, and obstruction of justice. The courtroom erupted into applause. Reporters rushed to file their stories, while protesters outside cheered loudly. Marcus sat back down, exhaling deeply. For the first time in weeks, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. Freedom at last. Later that day, Marcus walked out of the courthouse surrounded by flashing cameras and cheering crowds. People chanted his name. Marcus, Marcus, as if he were a hero. Elena stood beside him, smiling proudly. You did it, she said softly. You exposed the truth. Marcus shook his head. We did it. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Elena laughed lightly. Don't sell yourself short. You're the one who stayed strong when everything seemed hopeless. As they stepped into a waiting car, Marcus glanced back at the courthouse. The corrupt cops were being led away in handcuffs, their careers and freedom gone forever. Justice had been served, but Marcus knew the fight wasn't over. There were still countless others suffering under similar systems of oppression. A new mission. Over the next few days, Marcus met with his CIA superiors to debrief them about the case. They praised his work, calling it one of the most successful undercover operations in recent history. But Marcus surprised them when he handed in his resignation letter.